Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and we are back on F1 2020, and this is actually going to be the last league race that I do on F1 2020, so hopefully it can be a good one. Hopefully it can be a good race for us. Here we go for the first lap in qualifying. I'm trying to get some slipstream off someone who's just come out of the pits, and that first sector is going to be a 16.464 here at Brazil, and that's pretty good. We're aiming for a low 0.4 to a very high 0.3. If we can, really hooking up the start of this middle sector nicely so far, really cutting that inside there, and then staying just off the curves so you get a little bit better get a little bit better traction coming onto the outside curb. FH there just lets us through in the Mercedes, as he's not on a lap time, using all the cover on the inside, and we're into a 50.249, not the best middle sector there. Ideally we're aiming for a 0.1. But like a mid to low 0.1, but this should still be a low 0.5 lap here. So tracked ahead of us, he's the first one to set a lap, does a 107 flat, and we do a low 0.5. Here we go on to our second lap, and as you can see we are just a little bit behind coming through the middle sector, and we invalidate here. Now on to our third lap. I do think that this was our fastest of the session anyway, here coming through into turn 1, nicely hooking up the apex and the second apex there as well, and we are already 700s, 800s nearly up on our previous best. It ends up being 900s, and that's a 16.372, so that's a really good first sector. So hopefully not lose too much through this middle sector, which is the most difficult sector to cover, obviously the most corners, everything. Really using everything on the exit there, really cutting the inside there as much as we could. A little bit wide of the apex here, but still gaining a little bit of time. We're up to 1.2 tenths up, going a bit deep here, just coming back to the apex, a little lock up, but we still are a tenth up basically. Now coming through the last corner and onto the main straight, and it's going to be an improvement of just over a tenth, so not the best middle and final sector. We probably could have improved more than that, so like perhaps 0.3, but it looks like this is going to be a low 0.4, and it is. It's a 106.404. Anyway, this was our final lap of the session. As you can see, right at the end of the session, only 1.4 minutes remaining, and we are nearly like half a tenth to 3/4 of a tenth of three-quarters of a tenth down. But a really good start to the middle sector there, and we're only now 200ths down on our personal best. And now coming through the middle sector, not perfect. They're not using all the track on the entry, sorry, but really hooking up this section nicely, and we are now half a tenth up. Coming through here, this is really tight onto the cover, and we just lose the back end of the car. That could have been an improvement of half a tenth to a tenth, and yeah, just losing it there. But in the end, it is enough for pole, thankfully, by 2 tenths in fact. So our first lap would have actually been enough for pole. But anyway, here we go for the race. 4, 5 red lights, and we are away for the Brazilian Grand Prix in ABS here. Into turn 1, we got a good enough start there to take a normal racing line into turn 1. Now coming through, we're going to use a lot of ERS here. Just make sure we can try and pull a gap here. We're already 7 tenths up on Mr. Boca, just behind us. So we're going to try and pull a second gap in the first few laps, just to make sure that he can't get that DRS. Make sure that he can't come past us. And yeah, just overall have as good of a race as we can. So here, still coming through the first lap, nearly getting a warning there, which would have been really unideal. Really at Brazil here, obviously you don't want to get penalties at any track, but here at Brazil, and it's probably especially true, there's not a lot of places where you can cut the track if you are, as long as you're being careful. So you really don't want to get warnings in silly ways like that. But here we go across the line for the first lap, and we are basically a second ahead of Mr. Boca. as we head through the rest of the first stint on sauce. Ideally going to stop on lap 15 for this stint. And nothing really happened. Mr. Boker actually dropped down quite a bit. I think he might have had some contact with Seed, who's now in second. And we've got a 3.5 second gap as a VSC comes out. So we're just going to stick to Delta. And actually, it's only 2 laps before our pit window. This VSC can't pretty much the perfect time on the lap. Would have liked it to be maybe a lap later. Or 2 for the sake of the medium tyres at the end, but we do know that there could be a bit of rain at the end of this race, so this could be perfect actually. So we're going to come in and make our pit stop. We do get held a little bit, you do have to slow down a little bit because of Seed there, but a good pit stop. And instead of that being a 20 to 25 second pit stop as you'd expect, we're actually only going to lose around 13 seconds to Kagoda, who's probably our nearest rival, top of the medium runners, as well as Siege. We also stopped on the same lap. He's top of the medium runners. We're only going to come out 4 seconds behind him, and we had about a 9 to 10 second gap when we came in. So only losing around 13 seconds there, which is absolutely ideal. Really gaining a lot of time in that pit stop, maybe around 7 to 10 seconds we gained from having that pit stop under a VSC in comparison to it being just a normal pit stop, like in normal racing conditions. So now we're just going to try to catch up to Kagoda and also Lux Evan here, who is second of the medium runners. FRT Evan just behind us. So myself, Kagoda, Lux Evan and Evan, we are all in FRT. So at the moment this is a 2, 3, 4, 5 for FRT, and in fact Kagoda just overtakes Jackson there for the lead of the race. He stayed out under that VSC and so he's going to be really struggling in the next few laps in comparison to myself, Kagoda, Lux, in terms of tyre wear. So we're now just going to try and catch up to Evan, try and catch up to Jackster as a virtual safety car, another one comes out. So we're just going to accelerate all the way through this. We are now basically only a second and a half off of Lux, so we should be hopefully getting into the DRS about next lap, to be honest. And yeah, you can see they're just checking the weather. And Jeff, they're just telling me that rain is actually forecast in around 10 minutes. So the decision to come onto the mediums here was probably the right one. Anyway, now we're caught up to Evan. I mean, he's got his teammate of FH, who's a back marker giving him DRS, so we're not going to be able to get the move down. We do set the fastest lap of the race. There. Which, as you'd expect, we are on new mediums. We have been the fastest in qualifying and throughout the race. So now we're just going to come through on FH, who's actually going to make life quite difficult here. Just due to like him being ghost, especially for Lux here, as he's just going to be in the way a little bit for him, so he's going to struggle to hit all his apex and stuff, as you can see through there. But that's not really going to help us through the middle sector. As you can see, Kagoda has now picked up a penalty. I don't know if you could see that before. I don't know if that had happened before. I don't remember. But it's going to be really good for us. It means that we can have a little bit of a buffer to him. So for example, if he's right on the back of us, that's actually really a 3-second buffer to him because of that penalty. At this stage, I do think we are on 2 warnings. But yeah, we are going to go for the move on Lux here. As you can see, he has no ERS, his light is flashing, but neither do we really. And we're going to go around the outside into turn 1, getting fully alongside, getting ahead, going into the second apex, and we're going to take that corner and get ahead. He is going to have the DRS back on us, but we do have the DRS on FH ahead, and that is going to allow us to come past nicely. Now we're going to skip ahead a little bit. Just coming through the middle sector on lap 18 here, just catching up to Kagoda, annoyingly not able to get into the DRS for this lap. as he's getting passed by FH, who does just set the fast lap. And we also have another back marker of Solid, who has disconnected, unfortunately for him, in this race. And now just slowing back down here, we would probably be getting our first opportunity to overtake Kagoda here. But another virtual safety car is called, which is really not ideal for us, because this is going to allow Kagoda to make his pit stop. He was probably planning to make his pit stop around lap 21, so a couple laps early for him. But with that rain, that's not going to make too much difference to him. That's going to be fine for him if it's a couple laps early, because we're probably going to have to stop onto the intermediate tyres, or maybe even the wet tyres, later on in this race. So really that time that we gain from stopping under the VSC is kind of nullified now. But that's not really too much of a problem for us, because we did have that 10 to 12 second buffer to Kagoda anyway when we stopped onto the first virtual safety car, and we would have gained even more and more. I think we gained around 3 seconds on him since he stopped. Now onto lap 27, as you can see, Kagoda's come out and he's been gaining time on us. He's back to about 10 seconds behind. And I did just ask for a weather report there, but Jeff not really giving us any useful information. And we are going to ask him again, because still not really any useful information there. But it does look like it is raining now. Just some light drops. I'm not sure if you can see that on the chassis. But it is raining now. You should be able to see that on the chassis. But yeah, it is in fact raining now, and as you can see there, massively on the helmet as well, on the camera. So, but we're not going to stop for a little while yet. It's not going down too heavily, and we do need to wait for the DRS to be deactivated. Is really generally a really good point to be stopping. Anyway, this lap here at the end of lap 29 was probably the correct time to come in and make a pit stop. Jeff had just told me to change the strategy to coming on this lap, but I decided no, we haven't had the DRS call yet, so I'm going to stay out. But behind us, as you can see, Kagoda, Lux, Mr. Boca has come in, but Seed, crucially for us, Seed has stayed out, and he was probably the only person who had the opportunity, who was close enough to make the position on us with the undercut, with the coming in onto the correct tyres early enough. Kagoda will definitely gain time on us, but Seed was probably the only person who could possibly have gone ahead of us if he'd come in. So we are definitely going to stop this lap. As you can see, it's really struggling in these conditions on the dries. And there we go, DRS is now disabled, so it is the perfect time to come in. And as you can see on the mini-map, Kagoda, Lux, Mr. Boca, who will stop this lap, only just coming through turn 4. So they would have only basically had that straight with DRS enabled. So we would probably had 1 or 2 corners with DRS enabled if we'd stopped that lap. So it basically was the perfect time to come in. We are going to stop this lap. Do need to remember to be careful to stop, get on the brakes earlier, and I did remember that, but then I released the brakes, and that's going to get us a 5-second time penalty. Luckily, Seed behind us also makes the same mistake, which means that I've had a mind blank. Which means that he's not going to be able to capitalise on us making that mistake. But it does also mean that now we do need to keep a 2-second buffer to Kagoda and 5 seconds to Lux just behind him, in fact. Lux is only about 5 seconds behind Kagoda. Anyway, coming out of the pit lane now, and Kagoda has gained about 5 seconds on us, plus that 5 seconds that he would have gained, plus that's 5 seconds that he gained because of the penalty, by undercutting us. Now on lap 33 we have another virtual safety car. I've had quite a few throughout the course of this race. I think this is the 4th one, in fact, and they have helped both myself and Kagoda. And at this stage the gap is around 5 seconds to Kagoda. When the VSC came out it was around 4.5, but I think I'm pushing more at the start of this VSC, and he's going to push more at towards the end of it, which is probably the right strategy. Seed also 7.5 seconds behind us. I do want to try and keep a 5-second gap to Seed in case he can possibly get that 5 seconds removed for some reason by the stewards. And I would also like to keep a 5-second gap to Kagoda in case he can get his 3 seconds removed if one of them, for example, was him being pushed off the track. One of his warnings was for that. But with the virtual safety car coming to an end now, we are going to get onto the throttle coming into the final corner, or the final main corner. And we've not really maximised that, and it looks like Kagoda behind us has definitely maximised that a lot more. He's probably gained around half a second on us from that VSC, considering where what the time was when it came out, about 4.5, and it's now basically 4. But coming on to the beginning of the final lap, the gap to Kagoda is 3.8 seconds. It's really stayed the same since that virtual safety car, and the gap to Seed is 5.3, so basically staying the same as well. So it looks like we won't be able to get that 5-second gap to Kagoda that I really want, but that should be fine. That shouldn't be too much of a problem for us, because as long as his penalty will stand, we don't have too much of a problem with that. It's just a safety measure, but I'm sure it will most likely be fine. Most likely won't be a problem that we don't have that gap. The gap to Seed also above 5 seconds. We do have that nice buffer with him, and the gap to Mr. Boca and Lux obviously, and as we have a 9-second gap over, so we will finish around 4 seconds ahead of him, and Mr. Boca behind him. But just coming through this final lap now, you can see we are slightly struggling with these intermediates. We are gaining a little bit of time on Kagoda this lap. I've gained around 3/10 so far this lap. We have lost a little bit of time to Seed. But it's not going to matter too much. We are going to come across the line to take the victory in ABS Brazil Tier 2. This is Tier 2 in ABS, and we do take the victory there, as you can see by the scoreboard, by just over 2 seconds, and then just under 4 seconds to Lux. Anyway guys, that is going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please like the video, and if you're new to the channel, go down and subscribe. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to go check mine and FRT's links down in the description. FRT is of course the racing scheme that I do race for. Anyway guys, I really do hope you enjoyed my last league race of F1 2020, and let's hope we can carry this momentum forward into F1 2021. Thank you, and goodbye.